I've always been taught that permaculture and agroforestry systems are that built on abundance and using that abundance to fuel your food forest. But sometimes it's hard to keep up with them. Definitely had trouble keeping up with mine. And my system is primarily Mexican sunflowers, chop and drop. And most nitrogen fixing or non-nitrogen fixing chop and drops need to be pruned, it needs to be laid out, you need to have maintenance, you can't just leave it. And so I definitely struggled a little bit keeping up. So a lot of my Mexican sunflowers gone all woody. And how do you utilize that? How can you turn a neglected system that it can seem overwhelming into a system is just pure abundance? How can you utilize that? So that's what I've been trying to relocate here. So out here in the system, this used to be mainly Mexican sunflower interlaid. This row I haven't fixed yet, but the system was originally Mexican sunflower and then a fruit tree and some more Mexican sunflower and some of the fruit tree. But the problem with that, some benefits and pros. The benefit was that it's creating shade. This is a very hot system. The sand is very poor and it does not take the heat well. So a lot of things struggle. So I needed that shade and the Mexican sunflower was willing to provide it. And I had lots of it. So the Mexican sunflower was laid everywhere, but the problem was it was overshading, overcrowding everything, and it wasn't easily chopped and dropped. So it would get like this one, where it was just getting all woody, and then the wood just doesn't deteriorate. I was laying it in the middle, but the wood would take 1 or 2 years to break down. And that's just not beneficial. It's tying up nutrients that this soil frankly doesn't have. So this section here is what it should be looking like with all the green material. But what I've had to do now is I'm gonna be ripping them out, laying them in rows. That way all of them can be easily chopped, dropped, laid down, and they're out of the way of the fruit trees, so I don't have to worry about, keeping them going. And in some instances I already had that. So like over here, these are all laid on the outside and I kind of laid them in rows. This one I put in a little bit later, but it needs a little bit of love too. The fruit trees aren't doing too hot. I need to retool this and actually chop and drop these. These row especially, I never really got to. So it was always getting woody and not getting maintained. But that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. All this material, it may not be able to be used for the chop and drop, but that doesn't mean it can't be used to fuel the abundance of this farm. And so what I've been doing is going through and chopping them basically to nothing, like this one here. And by cutting them down, I've been laying all the green material down, and then I've been piling up these sticks. And I'm like, well, how can I propagate these? Because ripping these out of the ground is not fun. Because fueling your farm in abundance takes place in many ways. Sometimes it's all the organic matter that you're laying down, sometimes it's propagation material, and just not letting yourself get discouraged. Just because you have, a problem in your system doesn't necessarily has to be a problem. So in this case, my Mexican sunflower, it's overgrown, it's not decomposing, it's not working as a chop and drop, but I can use it as production for future areas. Another thing I've been doing is because these are so big at the bottom, so last time I chopped and dropped them, they were basically chest height when I chopped them. So, because the canes are so big from my machete, I wasn't able to. But this time, now that I've come through and chopped it really flush with the ground with a sawzall, I've been able to take this material and propagate it. I've been able to take over some of the bigger canes that are, we're talking, good 2 or 3 inches covered in green material over to our neighbor for her goats. And then she's gonna be using those big canes maybe for some soil erosion and stuff, because these canes are so big, there's so much nutrients in them, so much energy, that they should be able to just shoot right away, immediately take off, rather than some little cutting that's gonna take months and months and months. We can just lay the whole cane in the ground, lay it out, and hopefully the whole thing will come up and just be popping with production, and it'll be a quick jump start to whatever system we need. So my whole point with making this quick little clip wasn't really to brag, it wasn't to show off. It was just hopefully to inspire somebody that, maybe if they feel a little overwhelmed with their system, they feel like they just can't catch up, that it may not be actually a problem, it may just be a blessing in disguise. Maybe it's just something you needed in your system, and you just have to look at it as a way of utilizing your production rather than dealing with overabundance of problems.